Hello, internet friends! The Great Dane Society will be jumping back into our Horror on the Orient Express game on January 25th, and we thought it might behoove us to put together a recap of the first half of the campaign for new viewers, or old ones that wouldn't mind a refresher. Regulars will know me as Erna Klein, but tonight I come to you not as Miss Klein, but instead fulfilling my most sacred duty as the note-taker, the lore keeper, the Google Doc. I realized while working on the first draft of this recap that actually writing out the plot of 31 episodes would not only prove wildly laborious for me, but also not achieve the task of getting everyone up to date in a timely manner. It took me a few hours to realize this, of course, but here we are. So instead, I will be presenting this in a way that honors the format of our campaign doc. Bullet points organized by arc, featuring highlights and big plot points. If you want more than that, then go watch our dang show already. Our story begins in London, January 1st, 1923. Dr. Smith invites our motley crew to attend his lecture on epiphenomena. A cult called the Brotherhood of Skin burns down the professor's house, giving the roasty-toasty expository machine, Dr. Smith, an excuse to give us our quest: to ride the Orient Express, find the pieces of the broken Sedefkar simulacrum, bring them all to the Shun Mosque in Constantinople, and destroy them. Before leaving London, we track down a haunted train set. Reggie makes a flesh train, Erna falls through an infinite void, Charlie befriends a cannibal wizard, and Rudolph dooms a train spotter's gala to get back at his nemesis, Arthur Butters. We get our hands on Dr. Smith's journal, recounting his misadventures on the Orient Express in 1893. Erna is particularly interested as it involves her missing father, Klaus Klein. The 1893 Danes deal with yet another cult entangled with a dangerous entity: brain-eating, transdimensional, intergalactic fezzes. Klaus chooses to wear one of the fezzes in order to master and destroy these aliens, but at what cost to his mind? In the flashback, we meet everyone's favorite head porter, Henri. Beddoes becomes the unflappable king of deadpan. We see the origins of Rudy's impressive kill count, and Julius Smith takes hyperphysics to the utmost limit. Back in 1923, we get some juicy lore on the last owner of the Sedefkar simulacrum, Count Fenelik, and find the first piece of the artifact under the ruins of his old estate in Poissy, now home to a country doctor and his charming family. Erna claims and is claimed by the left arm of the simulacrum, while poor Reggie gets romantically involved with a busboy, only to discover his flayed skin hanging from the shower curtain in our hotel bathroom. Because, we're all aware of what genre we're in here, right? The Danes board the Orient Express in Paris. When they fall asleep, they are transported to the Dreamlands Express, operated and embodied by Henri, the head porter back in 1893, now in the form of a multi-dimensional, tentacled train entity. They meet Blackjack, a mischievous but adorable tuxedo kitten, along with other passengers from the waking world, living and dead, all heading towards the Gulf of Nodens to discard a deep trauma. Charlie reveals a closely held secret. Rudy tries and fails to murder a kitten, and Erna is confronted with her insecurities through the manifestation of an anthropomorphic notebook bully. We arrive in Switzerland and track down the owner of the Sedefkar scrolls, rumored to contain the secret of destroying the artifact. He dies from an unfortunate case of proximity to us. We also meet our most irritating recurring villain, the Frenchman. Erna breaks down a zombie bear to its molecular parts, and Charlie has the most successful repartee with the Frenchman. Meanwhile, Rudy and Reggie pitch their traveling magician routine to a horrified train car. Back at the Dreamlands, we're introduced to two warring factions. The Sarnathians, insufferable 7-foot-tall Adonises with rampant sexual appetites, and their rivals, the Ibians, indecipherable, stinky piles of goo. Both parties are on the Express to plead their case to the High King of the Dreamlands, with the talking cats playing diplomat. Charlie gets hit on by the Sarnathians, while Reggie fumes in the background. The The Danes discover Blackjack's dead body and take on the role of detective with a Kitty Columbo lookalike Mr. Scritches. The culprit is an ensorcelled wine merchant who passes that curse on to Erna. We arrive in Milan and are put up in a fancy hotel by the prima donna of the opera, Caterina Cavallaro. This benefactor mysteriously disappears the night before the opera Aida opens. In our search for Caterina and the next piece of the simulacrum, we find ourselves posing as supplementals backstage at the opera house. Erna gets a revealing makeover and gets her classic nerdy girl takes off her glasses in a teen movie moment, while Rudy discovers a new way to murder and merges with the simulacrum torso. We also meet Antonio the Chameleon, aka Jesus Lizard, who leads Reggie to a shootout in a warehouse and tries to push Rudolph off a flight of stairs. Rudy uses his newfound shining torso to blind a Sarnathian prince. Due to an unforeseen Santa sex clause, this embroils him in the ongoing diplomatic mission as he slowly turns into a Sarnathian himself. Erna's latest curse, they really do seem to stack up on her, causes her to go on an unwilling killing spree that the rest of the Danes have to then unravel. Eventually, we figure out this is all part of the Frenchman's plan to acquire an artifact called the Lover's Heart. On a totally unrelated note, Antonio the Chameleon makes his triumphant return as Erna's animal sidekick, and, unfortunately for our podcast listeners, master of charades. We arrive in Venice, searching for the next piece of the simulacrum in the Devil's Simulaire, another madness-inducing document with that good lore. Unable to resist the allure of the juice, we get tangled up in a love triangle between two Venetian star-crossed lovers, Giorgio and Maria's suitor, an official in the fascist Italian government. We encounter a fez-wearing woman in white after a night of partying, who speaks to Erna with Klaus's voice, telling her not to take the simulacrum to Constantinople. Jesus Lizard tries to eat the fez, and Erna puts it on in an act of defiance. The dying entity shares its last moments with her, and she comprehends in part that Klaus has given the fezes a new directive. We track the simulacrum leg down to a haunted clock tower, where Charlie deftly maneuvers through the mechanisms to wrest the limb from a scimitar-wielding automaton. We get Fenelic ex machina'd on our way out when the vampire-adjacent man takes care of the pursuing fascists, drops off the Devil's Simulaire, and throws in a little unnecessary killing of poor Giorgio to top off this eldritch Sunday. The Devil's Simulaire is a first-hand account of the sack of Constantinople in 1204, when the Frank Crusaders and their Venetian bankrollers looted the city. The Frank Danes are sent on a quest by their liege lord to track down some dangerous magical artifacts, as you do. That just so happens to lead them to the origins of the Sedefkar simulacrum. After some hijinks involving blood rituals, flirtatious repartee, assimilating into flesh walls, and a healthy heap of vampirism, our questionable heroes face off against Sedefkar as he is completing the ritual to form the simulacrum. Somehow they prevail and separate the simulacrum pieces to definitely not get collected by a greedy vampire soon after. Back with our main PCs, we pull into Trieste. Our only hook is the name Johann Winkelmann, the father of archaeology. We track his ghost down to a hotel basement that Reggie had casually purchased to obtain entry, where Charlie picks up a strange coin pointed out to us by Winkelmann. After attuning to the maybe-cursed coin, Charlie hears the call of the wolf, but due to his gargantuan sanity score and respectable POW, resists the temptation to go run into the woods and tear some people apart. We get caught in a standoff involving two opposing cults, the fascist police and space dragons. We make it out alive, one simulacrum leg richer, and hightail it out of town. Charlie is pulled aside by Henri and told that due to a mix-up with his ticket price, he can no longer ride the Dreamlands Express, but his pre-transition self, a 12-year-old farm girl named Charlotte, can. We make a stop at Sonanil, the land of fancy, where the official language is song. This is also where Henri saw Klaus get off the Dreamlands Express 6 years ago. We spot a rabbit spying on us. A thrilling chase scene ensues, culminating in another message from Klaus. Save me. I'm in hell. One helpful lore dump later, we find out that Klaus, though debatably dead, is in a cosmically magical triumvirate, acting as the balance between order and chaos. Still, his messages to Erna do not line up with this neat narrative. Back on the Dreamlands Express, things pop off when the High King of the Dreamlands comes aboard. The Sarnathians try to stage a coup and crown Rudy as the new High King, while the Frenchman makes his final push for the lover's heart. After some accidental regicide, our favorite head porter pulls a Henri ex machina and gets all of us to the Gulf of Nodens, where we throw in our metaphorical baggage and say goodbye to the Dreamlands Express. When next the Danes meet, we'll be pulling into Belgrade to continue our search for the Sedefkar simulacrum, and definitely not losing our minds along the way. Check out all the VODs at youtube.com/questschaos and join us live on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/questsandchaos.